Jordan, you were mentioning and teasing out to the audience that our FOIA request, which went out on August 30th, really the last day of that withdrawal, because we knew that we needed to get in quickly and try to get them to preserve information and get it to us as quickly as possible. Right. But then we had to sue about a month later. The State Department, the Pentagon, the ODNI, Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Central Command to get documentation. And we've been getting documentation for years. They've been producing documents. But this, as we've said many times, you're looking for the nugget in the gold mine. Unfortunately, it's a very dark nugget that we had to find. And this is what we got.
That's right. And so this is what happened. You know, we filed, again, our FOIA just 4 days after that incident at Abbey Gate, killing 13 Americans, injuring others. And part of our FOIA was about the withdrawal and leaving our translators, those Afghans who bravely fought side by side with our U.S. military, leaving them behind, not taking into account their families, their children, or them themselves, and what would happen to them once they would be identified, as they would easily be so, by the Taliban and groups like ISIS-K. How are we going to protect them when we did a full withdrawal? We didn't keep the military base. We didn't keep the huge airfield. Donald Trump had always said, when he talked about withdrawing from Afghanistan, he never meant no troops in Afghanistan. He meant there would be a major presence there in a protected zone and control of the largest airport. Why? It had strategic significance both inside Afghanistan, but also in regards to China, Iran, and Russia. But Joe Biden didn't agree with this. So out of this FOIA, which we file on the 30th, we then get a letter. So this is from the Taliban. Remember, they took over the government immediately when we withdrew. And this is a summons. It is a summons that was dated just a few days after our withdrawal, September 5th. Okay, and the September 5th summons was from the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. It is this is a translation of the Taliban's summons letter. This is a summons from the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. Based on the accurate information of the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, you all had worked very closely with the occupying forces of the United States, the American anti-Islamic forces, in recent years. Therefore, you are ordered to submit yourself to the nearest field office of the Islamic Emirate, where you will be served to face justice within the legal framework of the Islamic Emirate. And, of course, Sharia law. And get this part, because it's never just about the individual in the Islamic world who may have taken the action that the new dictators don't like. Listen to the fear down your spine here. Your failure to surrender yourself will have serious consequences, both to you and your family, as all of you, including your families, will be severely prosecuted and punishment under the Islamic law of the Emirate. Regards, Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. And Will, to this date, we honestly don't know how many brave men and women and their families who wanted to stand by, who they saw as freedom fighters, to finally free them from the control of the oppressive Taliban. How many of these individuals are no longer with us because our withdrawal didn't plan the removal of them? We should, if we had to, it would be better to shut down our southern border for a couple of years so that these people were able to get back to the United States, because these would have been people who ultimately were great Americans, because they risked their life with our soldiers. These are the kind of immigrants you want in your country. People who did the right thing, and yet we left them behind. And, if this becomes a pattern of the United States of America, guess what happens? When we come in, when unfortunately we may have to go into countries like this in the future. And we hope we never do, but we're prepared to always do so. If we do this again, I don't want this blood on our hands as Americans. But right now, this blood is on the hands of Kamala Harris because of that answer on The View. She could have said a couple of things, like that withdrawal should have been better, and we should have better treated those who worked with us. We should have had them out before the withdrawal. We should have made sure they had flights as well as their families had flights. And we should have put pressure on the Taliban that if we couldn't get to everyone, if they touched any of them, we'd be right back in Afghanistan blowing up their strongholds so their families would be at risk. Now, I could see a Donald Trump or a Mike Pompeo saying that. You know who I don't see ever saying that? Kamala Harris or laughing and hopping Tim Walz.
That's right, Jordan. And honestly, when
he's real goofy and gets a lot of things wrong, he's kooky.
That's right. Well, when you look at
kooky people running our government,
when you look at this letter and this summons, really, and it names those three individuals, the problem here also is that we know that a lot of people, because of the chaos, were able to get on those flights, get out of country, that were not vetted at all.
Of course.
It was the worst way to run it. Instead of getting the people that actually did help us, they got a lot of bad actors, including one we'll talk about with Rick Grinnell that was arrested in Oklahoma planning a terror attack on this November 5th, Election Day, to sow chaos in America. He was here on a special immigrant visa from Afghanistan. He fled with the withdrawal, but this wasn't a helper of the United States. This was the chaos of the moment because they didn't have the procedures and the structure in order to get people that they could fully vet out. The unvetted ones got to America, and the people like these that were our helpers were left behind to face execution under Sharia law.